In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the step-by-step process for how you can make an amazing epoxy charcuterie board. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Let's go. So this right here is the board I'm gonna use. One thing that I kind of have in mind for this project is I don't want this to be kind of like the typical river charcuterie board that you see where there's like, wood on one edge, wood on the other edge, and the epoxy goes down the middle. I really kind of want this design to be a little more intricate, a little more complex. What I'm gonna start off by doing is just kind of chopping this down the middle, roughly the length of this charcuterie board mold. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and debark this. Definitely you wanna make sure you don't skip that step because eventually that bark is gonna fall off. So that just goes for any woodworking project. Never complete a project with leaving bark on the wood. I need to get these edges a little bit smoother than what I can get with just debarking with a chisel. And the reason for that is what you don't want to have happen is after your epoxy pour, you let the thing cure and you can see little splinters coming out of the live edge. You don't want that. So I'm going to be using this little detail sander from Milwaukee. You don't need this. You can do this by hand with just sandpaper or a sanding disc. You can use a 5 or 6 inch disc sander. I've done that many times. I just recently picked up this 3-inch disc sander. This smaller pad size will help me, like, especially right over here where there's some wood damage, just kind of get and make sure I can get some nice detail sanding work done. So I'm just gonna hit the live edge. I'm not gonna worry about sanding the top yet. This is just sanding the edges, probably up to like 120 grit. Don't need to go crazy with it. So what we're gonna do now is trace our router template. We're gonna kind of cut this into the shape that we want. I definitely want to include this whole section of the live edge because I love how dramatically this curves. After playing around with this, I've just kind of decided this is the shape that I like. Gonna leave more of wood on one side, epoxy on the other side. The handle is gonna be epoxy. So what I'm gonna do now is just take a pencil and trace this out. So up next, I'm gonna take my jigsaw and I'm gonna make a cut as close as I possibly can get to this line, but I don't want to touch this line. So I just want to leave a tiny little bit of material on this side. I'm going to come back later and trim this up with a flush trim router bit. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to get a perfect shape with the jigsaw, and that's where these crafted elements molds come in so handy. What I'm going to do is take this router template and I'm going to tape it on top of my black walnut blank. And there should be overhang, just a little bit of overhang all the way around, because remember we were going to cut as close to the line as possible without crossing that pencil line. Then what I'm going to do is take a flush trim router bit. I'm going to run the bearing of that router bit along my router template, and it's going to make the black walnut exactly flush with this template, which will mean it will fit perfectly in the mold. So now what's going to happen when I take this router template off, this is going to fit perfectly right inside this epoxy mold. And as you can see right here, this is fitting perfectly. We're going to have no epoxy leaking, and you can now really start to see, kind of get an idea of what this final epoxy project is going to look like. Okay, it's time for really the most fun part of these types of projects, and that is the epoxy pour. However, this can turn from fun into a nightmare if you're not careful and don't follow a couple of tips. So really quickly, first, you notice that I have this black walnut plywood that I'm resting my mold on. The reason I'm doing this is I know that this board is perfectly flat. You don't want your mold sitting on a surface that does this because the mold can conform to that surface and epoxy can settle in the low spots. It will just not, it'll make your life more difficult. So this is perfectly flat. It's also perfectly level. It's leveled this way. It's leveled this way. I have it shimmed up just right because my workshop floor is not perfectly level, so you want to make sure you check for that. Now, next thing, really important, is you want to use mold release. What this is going to do, it's really easy to apply. You just shake it up and then spray it on here like spray paint, basically. But this is going to extend the life of your molds. If you use mold release on these Crafted Elements molds, you'll be able to, get probably 30, 40 projects out of these molds. If you don't, they're going to eventually start to crack on you because you're not using the proper mold release. So I get it on the sides. Now I'm going to let that mold release sit for about 5 minutes, and I'm probably going to put a little bit more mold release in before I put in my wood and then my epoxy. So while that's kind of curing, I'm going to move over here and measure out my epoxy. Tip number 3 for a great epoxy pour is use the right epoxy. You don't want to use epoxy that's meant for like a 1/2-inch pour to make a 2-inch deep pour. I'm using Total Boat Fathom Thickset epoxy. This is kind of like my go-to epoxy. It's great. It's easy to work with, easy to pour, and it's good for up to 2-inch pours, which we're not even doing a 2-inch pour. This is about a 1-inch pour. So we're good there. Now, I also recommend getting these Total Boat epoxy mixing cups. It gives you these little scales on the side that makes making sure you get your ratio just right. And then I like to use a powder pigment. This is from Black Diamond Pigments. If you're interested in the exact color that I'm using Caribbean Blue. I like the powder pigments because liquid pigments, in my opinion, can kind of throw off the resin to hardener ratio. So, that's just kind of that. I'm going to be using this little silicone stir to make sure our epoxy is stirred up well. So it's been about 5 minutes. We put another coat of mold release in. We are ready for this epoxy pour. So I'm going to go ahead and first drop in my black walnut to make sure it's fitting snugly, which of course it is because we used that router template that matches this mold from Crafted Elements. Now, before I put in my epoxy, I'm going to put some weights on this board because I don't want this thing floating up on me. If you're wondering where a good spot to get weights for good prices, I like to go to thrift stores. I find that most thrift stores, you can get some, 2 or 3 pound weights for pretty cheap. I've got about 8 pounds on here. That's going to be plenty to make sure that this board doesn't float up. Now it's time for the fun part. Let's do the epoxy pour. Another epoxy tip, 2 things I'm going to be doing consistently every couple of hours while this epoxy cures is I'm going to pop the bubbles that come to the top, and I'm also going to come back in and add a little bit of a swirl effect because otherwise this powdered pigment, it will tend to settle. I want to have that swirl effect coming through here. All right, so I've had something happen on this charcuterie board that has never happened with me with any of my other epoxy projects. When I pulled this out of the mold, at the bottom of this charcuterie board, so this was where the bottom of the mold was, there is this gummy, sticky, very shallow, just part of the epoxy resin that didn't cure correctly. At first, I was thinking this was because I didn't mix up the epoxy enough, but that was not it. I used the Total Boat mixer, hooked it up to my drill. I was mixing it for like 1 or 2 minutes, which was probably truthfully overkill. Really what happened is at the time I was making this epoxy pour, it was kind of the fall. I live in Georgia, and so it can be like 70 degrees outside in the afternoon and then drop down to 30s. And I think that's what happened. It got really cold in my shop. I hadn't turned the heat on yet, and epoxy needs to be in a pretty temperature controlled environment while it's curing. You don't need to let it get really much below 60 or probably even 70 degrees. That's what happened, and I think that's why this didn't cure correctly. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this through my planer. I need to switch out my planer knives eventually. I know it's going to ruin this side of my planer knives. I'm just going to kind of bite the bullet and kind of hope for the best. This is really shallow. This gumminess doesn't go too deep. I thought about maybe like routing it out a little bit and then planing it, but I don't think that would be good. I think that would just be a mess to try and do this with a router. I thought about trying to scrape this out a little bit with a chisel. I I just never had this happen before, so I'm just really going experimental. We'll see how this ends. Here's what we're looking at right after planing, and really this turned out great. After about 4 passes, doing just 1/4 inch turns, so that's taking off like a 64th of an inch, this really took all the gunk out of the charcuterie board. So did the gunky side first, flip this over, planed down the other side, we got it perfectly flat. So this is looking great. What I'm going to do next is take this over to the table saw, just shave off this epoxy right here on the edge, give this a 1/4 inch round over, and then Chris is coming over, and I'm going to show you how he's going to finish up this board so it's food safe. So there you have it. That is the process for how to make these epoxy charcuterie boards. I love these builds for a couple of reasons. One, you can always there's always new possibilities depending on the type of live edge that you use, how you orient the boards, the different pieces you can use, the different epoxy colors. The possibilities are endless. A lot of people comment and ask how I price my charcuterie boards. This particular board, I would probably price around the $120 to $125 range. That's just what makes sense, because you got to remember, epoxy is not cheap. It takes a few extra steps to make an epoxy charcuterie board. This is a really quality board. It's also a pretty large charcuterie board. Not sure if you can tell on camera, but it's a pretty good size. And so that's what I would charge. Depending on the event, I might market it at like $100, but that's kind of the ballpark that I would be in for my market. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and then check out one of these 2 videos. Can't wait to see you right over here.